everyone, my name is Roya and this is Alistair, and today we are coming to you with the books that I read in the latter half of May. Starting with the ROC arrangement, this is a book about two Iranian main characters who pretend they're dating because basically the woman has to bring a +1 to her brother's wedding and her family won't get off her back about it, and so the guy needs her help doing his business's website, and he doesn't have the money to be able to pay her, so she says, hey, why don't you be my +1 and pretend we're dating and then I'll do your website. And of course they do end up falling in love through pretending that they're dating, and it is so awkward and so cute, and there were actually several times that I actually legitimately cried reading this. Which I don't normally cry during like a romance book, but I don't know. I just really like that the main character is a regular person who kind of feels like she's not pretty enough and all of that, and so she feels very underappreciated in multiple aspects of her life, and so when she realizes that people do actually appreciate her, it's just really adorable, and I really liked it. Also, I really loved the way that this was really made for Iranian readers in a way that probably the author was able to get away with because this is self-published. There was so much Iranian dialogue, like Farsi dialogue in here, that was not translated afterwards or anything like that. You know how normally the narrative kind of says, you know, indicates what that other language dialogue was and all of that. It does not do that here. It really felt like this was made for Iranian readers, and I loved it so much. What the River Knows, this is about a girl who is from Argentina, and she goes to Egypt to find out what happened to her parents, who are supposedly dead. They're like missing, presumed dead, or whatever the deal is. I'm not even sure. But anyway, she finds out that her uncle is trying to excavate Cleopatra's tomb and needs her help doing that, and it is just crazy. So this was really good. I don't like surprise villain tropes. They just really annoy me, and this definitely happened, you know, more than once in this pretty much, and it was super annoying. And also the romance aspect of it was a lot more than it was emphasized more than it needed to be for how little it was actually in here. So this is a young adult book, so to some extent I can kind of forgive it for just throwing a romance in there, but the way that the guy had point of view chapters and stuff like that when he's barely in the book, to the extent that the romance is any kind of part of the plot, I just didn't understand, and that could have been just not even part of it, and it would have been a better book, honestly. But overall, I really enjoyed reading this. This will be interesting. This is the sequel to This Will Be Fun. We follow 3 different main characters from the ones we get in the first book, and the different things that they are going through in the book with regards to romance subplots, being betrayed by people who they thought they could trust, and, you know, people trying to overthrow the kingdom who they have to stop, and all kinds of stuff. And so our 3 main characters of this book kind of come together to stop the same thing from happening, and it is super good. There definitely were some aspects of it where I felt like, why are we necessarily following these particular 3 people? Because in the first book we really do have a specific reason why these are the 3 people we're following, but in this book it kind of just gave us 3 other characters in the book and kind of threw them into the plot instead, and I didn't really think that that was as well thought out, but I did really like this book and I enjoyed reading it. Daggerbound by T. Kingfisher. This comes out in August. I got an early review copy via NetGalley, and I really liked this. This is the sequel to Sword Heart, the companion sequel, following a different guy trapped in a sword, saving a different person, and all of this other stuff, and it was really fun. It was definitely full of T. Kingfisher's signature banter, and it did actually give us a lot more of the stuff that was in the same universe as some of her earlier books, because this is set in the same universe as some of her other books, and it really brought those things back in a way that Sword Heart didn't necessarily do, aside from kind of subtly letting us know it's in the same universe. So I really enjoyed this book. I also thought there were some parts that were just so funny and so weird, and like there's a part where they wrap the sword in bacon so that some dogs will draw the sword and let the guy out and stuff like that, and it's just so random, like just the stuff that goes on in this, or the fact that you know, our main character tells someone, give me one good reason why I shouldn't kill you. And the guy is like, I send money to my sister. And he goes, oh, dang it, that was actually a good reason. And all of that. And so there were just some really funny, witty parts in this that I loved, and it was great. And I started laughing at so many parts in it, and it was awesome. And finally, we have Roles and Rivalry. This is about a girl who's a senior in high school, and her middle school best friend who moved away for 3 years is finally back in her life. He's moved back, and she hasn't seen him or talked to him at all in those 3 years when they used to be really close. And so things are super weird. She's not sure if she can still be friends with him anymore, but she tries anyway. And she kind of gets the wrong impression of him at first. She thinks that he's a jerk now or something, and it turns out that that's not true. He still likes a lot of the same nerdy stuff that she likes. And mostly I picked up this book because it has a D&D aspect. You know, the main character is trying to play D&D. She's trying to run a D&D campaign, and it's really adorable the way that she doesn't really know how to. She wants to be as good of a DM as her mom is, and all of that, when it's literally the first time she's done this and she's like 17 years old. Like, what are you gonna do? And so the whole thing is really adorable. However, it's really low stakes. So so I read the first half of this while I was not feeling very well, and I just wanted a super simple story, and I really liked it while I wasn't feeling great, and it was exactly the story that I needed. But then when I was feeling better and I was reading the next half of it, it was a lot harder to get through just because it is so low stakes. And once I was feeling fine, I didn't necessarily want like a low stakes, like just feel good story anymore. But the end of the story, you know, it does wrap up so well. And once it does get to the end of the story, it gets really crazy all of a sudden for like the last 10% of the book. And I ended up really liking it. So anyway, those are the books that I read in the latter half of May. Let me know what your thoughts are and if you've read any of these, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!